right, what is up everybody? Scott Brio back again. Today I wanted to talk to you about swing. Swing in Ableton Live specifically. It's just like a giant sampler, essentially. The groove functionality in Ableton is really good. Every DAW has its own, flavor or function or whatever, but I'm a huge fan of Ableton's in particular. You can throw MIDI files, audio files at it. It's got VSTs, all that stuff. Not that samplers have VSTs, which would be cool, but if you could imagine Ableton on like a, keyboard, workstation, that sort of thing, it's the ultimate version of that. And so the groove files are very integral into the process of making music, of course, and into the process of working with Ableton. I just wanted to talk briefly about how I use Groove in Ableton, as well as how I make my own groove files, and then of course how I use them and save them into a template for me to use later with my Ableton sessions. Okay, so let's switch over here to Ableton. What I have brought up is one of my favorite VSTs for hats. I'd say percussion, but it's really just hats. This thing by Audio Thing is amazing. You can get all these different flavors of hats. You can make your own. You can randomize and get completely different flavors. It's got great presets. And then my favorite thing is the randomization on the master, which is just insane. That's what you want basically out of every synthesizer and drum machine and sampler and VST. All of it should have a randomness knob on the master. What it does is it randomizes all of the different settings you've got across the whole thing, randomizes them by whatever percentage you want. So I've got mine set to 16. That's usually what I don't really drift much past 16 unless I'm 20 or whatever. Just a little bit, 1/5 of randomness is really nice in any given sound. What we're going to cover here is swing files on MIDI, swing on audio files. I'm going to show you the different swings that I have made. I want to show you the difference between those swing patterns and the ones that I've made and the ones that Ableton comes with. I'll show you how to set them up in your own template for Ableton so that you don't have to find them every time and that sort of thing. You set up a template in Ableton and it speeds up your workflow and it helps remind you of things that you might want to use in the future. Like let's say, I want to start using Diva more than Nexus, which is something I thought that I had. And so I put that into my default Ableton session and I started using Diva a lot more. Also, the custom swing files, groove files that I have here that I have made with my drum machines and samplers will be, they're on my website currently. I put them up there a while back and I'm just now getting around to making a video. But if you want those free groove files for the TR-8S, and I did the DJS, the Pioneer DJS 1000. I did the SU700, the Yamaha SU700. All, great grooving sounding machines, but they all have their differences, right? And their intricacies. So it's nice to have, all of them. So anyway, those are on my website for free. You can just go to the landing page, scottbrio.com. You will see a store panel there, which will allow you to pop them in your cart and buy them, but they are free, so you can just enter your info and download them right away and pop them into Ableton. So anyway, long story short, so we're looking at Ableton here, and we've got this hi-hat pattern here, right? I just have a pretty simple hi-hat dialed in here, and so what you have here on the left-hand side, if you don't have it open, you can click this little thing here, this little bacon button, and it will bring up your groove pool. And as you can see, I have a lot of grooves. And you might be thinking, why the hell would you want that many grooves? And I will tell you, I'll explain it to you. So again, this is my template that I use with Ableton, and I have a number of different groove files that I have made with different songs, and there's ones I've downloaded, and there's 909, that was one I downloaded, I think. The DJS ones I made. There's a lot of them that are built in that are really good. They all have their own flavor. I was listening to a talk recently with Mickey and Brad and the team over at Isla Instruments. They were talking about the updates for the new S2400 sampler. And Mickey is one of their engineers who helped create the S2400. And he said, all the machines, all the samplers, it's funny how people laugh about how one machine swings better than others. They're all doing the same thing. And, I think on a engineering side of things, he is probably correct. That being said, each machine has its own bits of jitter and timing issues, right? Like the ASR10 was noticeably quirky. It's a sequencer than Sonic ASR10. And the SP1200 was kind of funky, and you know, the MPC 3000 has, people praise the swing that the MPC 3000 had. So while they all might be doing the same thing, each of these different machines definitely has its own flavor, for whatever reason, right? Even if they're technically programmed the same. They all have their own flavor. All that being said, I have all of my created groove files in here in the pool on the left. And if you want to add them, you can just basically grab them and drop them, you know, from your grooves here in your category, and it'll put it in your groove pool. There's a lot, right? So for the SU700, there's 100 different groove settings. And that's because in the groove settings, you could get from 1 to 100. Having 100 of those means that when I'm making a groove, right, so I can go to this hi-hat and I can click and listen to it play. And what I can do is I can go in here and I can set it to SU700 0 setting, which, I don't know, might do something, might not. I don't think it does. But anyway, you can go up to 17 and you can hear the difference of those two. 41. So 100 and snap back to none. So the difference between certain machines is a little bit more subtle. Some of these hardware machines aren't going to do anything as crazy as some of the built-in grooves in Ableton have more serious swing to them. But the ones that I've created are a little bit more subtle, and I think it's because of the large amount and the large variety. So you look at the 3000 here. This is one of the built-in ones in Ableton. And it's the Swing MPC 3000 eighth notes, 54. And they have 54, they have 57, 61, 64, 68, 71, 74, and it stops. So that, you know, that just goes to show how much of a difference between those swing settings there are versus 1 to 100, or in the TR8S 1 to 127, or 0 to 127. So you're able to dial in much more refined amounts of your swing by using these, you know, ones that I've created. But that doesn't mean that the ones that it comes with aren't fantastic, right? They have a much more serious swing level to them. So let's listen to like the, you know, SP1200. So you can see how it really starts like swinging there, and you know, it almost starts to sound like a waltz or something. And so, you know, those are really good to throw in your mix on hi-hats, on percussion, on bass. I mean, I've even thrown it on the kick sometimes, not to that degree. I would not throw that much of a swing on a kick, but I would use, you know, something like this, like, you know, some of these lower value SU700 ones. They have a little bit more of a, you know, contemporary, lightweight swing, but you can dial it all the way up, you know, to whatever you want. So let's listen to some of those. There's 0. Go to 10 and 20. So a little bit more subtle, but they definitely add a lot to the groove, especially once you start adding them to a bunch of your different sounds. So my favorite part about Ableton is that you can not only add groove files to MIDI, which is kind of obvious, but you can also add it to audio. And that is kind of a game changer. Let me bring up a audio file here. This is just a hat loop. The beauty of Ableton is everything is kind of being warped as long as you tell it to. Everything is being warped fit the grid, which is locked to the tempo and the BPM of Ableton, of your your session. And so any adjustments that you make, if it's a groove file or it's transient adjustments or, any MIDI or audio, you speed up the BPM, slow it down, all of it is elastic and it all sticks together. And that is amazing. And it makes production just way easier and way more fun. And so what you can do because of that is you can take your groove files and you can throw them onto audio. So let's see here. I'll just start throwing random grooves on here. So you can hear how that immediately started swinging pretty wildly in comparison to just the standard, straight up feel. The original, it's a loop. It's a loop from a loop pack, so it's gonna have a little bit of swing. Hopefully, it's not completely straightforward from the pack. But that being said, you can still hear the movement between the notes when I throw the groove file on there, which is, it's pretty incredible. Now, to set all of these up into your default Ableton session so that it starts up every time you start Ableton or open a new project, what you want to do is you basically wanted to go into your groove pool. And so, you'll create a session and let's say you get the groove files that I've got on my website. You can unpack them and open that folder. And you should be able to just drag them all to your groove pool here, and they should all pop up. Once you've done that, then you can make adjustments from there and then save that as a default template. One thing I like to do, you've got your bass, if you think that your groove is meant to be quantized on a 16th note pattern, like these are 16th notes or 8th notes or quarter notes or whatever, you're gonna set that there. That's pretty straightforward. Quantize, this essentially means, how much do you want to pre-quantize the notes that are in the audio or MIDI file before applying the groove. And I generally don't. I generally have my stuff either quantized manually or set off the grid exactly where I want. So I don't really want any quantize to be pre-done there. Timing, 100%. This just gives you, you apply your swing. This is like a wet, dry kind of thing. Like how much of the swing do you want added to whatever it is you're applying. And then you've got random and velocity. And I don't mess with velocity all that much, but random is one of my favorite things. Again, as we were talking about earlier, I like to add random to basically, as you can see, I've gone in and laboriously hit 5 on every single one of these and then saved it because bits of random are very important to me. And so having 5% randomness on every single groove hit, every single hit that the groove is being applied to, it kind of adds some organicness, just like it added to the organicness of the hi-hats that we made earlier. It will add a little bit of natural organicness to the groove that's applying to your audio or MIDI files. So once you've got all this set up and you've got your grooves in here and you've got your tracks made and you've got your BPM set and you've got your super send, there's a good video on that I'll link to in the description. Get all this stuff set up, everything that you want in your session. With Ableton 10, you used to have to go into the preferences and then save it there. So if you have Ableton 10, you're gonna wanna go into the preferences and save it as the default template there. Ableton 11 and up, we're still on Ableton 11, but if you have Ableton 11, you're gonna wanna go into File here, Save Live as a default set. And that'll give you the option of saving your default set in the templates category, and you can use that. You can set it. I think the dark one here opens as the default, and the rest are just kind of options that you can open after you open up Ableton. So anyway, I'm Scott Brio. Thank you for checking out my video, and if you want to check out the free swing files, they're on my website, scottbrio.com. They're on the landing page. There's a store there. And also I wanted to remind you to give me a like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing here with these videos. Leave a comment. It's good for the YouTube algorithm and lets me know if what I'm doing is working. Also, I wanted to remind you of Dance Diamond Mastering. It is my mixing and mastering business. Essentially, take people's tracks. I will mix them if you need mixing, and then mastering as well. I do stem mastering, stereo mastering. If you want to help contribute to the channel, you can send me one of your tracks and I will master it. Also, you can check out the links down below, which have all my studio gear and that sort of thing, and I have some affiliate links. So anyway, I'm Scott Brio. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you on the next one.